Right. So, you're looking for some not so secret insider tips on how the French use their language? Well, I've got good news for you. T'es au bon endroit. Just simply by coming to my website shows that you're more dedicated than most to learning and improving your French. And I'm super excited to have you here. So as a huge merci beaucoup, here is a list of 12 words, phrases, tips, tricks that are so common in daily French and will help you grow as a French learner who wants to speak like the natives. So, if you're ready, c'est parti. On the face of it, retrouver seems obvious if you use your common sense and your skill in English. It looks like it means to retrieve, and I think in some cases it does mean this, but I will never forget the first time it was used in a reflexive way by my friend in Paris on the very first or second night in Paris 5 years ago. She used it to ask or to suggest where and when we meet up. She said, "On se retrouve à quelle heure? On se retrouve à quelle heure?" When are we retrieving ourselves? When are we finding ourselves? No, that doesn't sound quite right. So I can tell you it means when are we meeting? At what time are we meeting? What time are we finding each other again is the most logical fit when you think about it literally in English. You don't just have to use it in a reflexive way like on se retrouve. You can also, of course, use it as a way of saying I'm meeting you at 7 o'clock. Je te retrouve à 19h. Je te retrouve à 19h. And of course, also in the imperative, it would be retrouve-moi ou retrouvez-moi are two ways that you could say that. Meet me. Retrouve-moi à 19h. So we've talked about retrouver and now we're going to talk about rejoindre. Have you seen a pattern here with the use of the verbs which start with RE? Rejoindre is mostly used for talking about meeting up with people later or joining them in whatever they're doing. Perhaps you would say, I'm going to meet up with you later. You say, je te rejoins plus tard. Or you're going to say to multiple people, allez-y, allez-y, go ahead, je vous rejoins plus tard. Je vous rejoins plus tard. And I suppose they use rejoindre instead of joindre because the French love to use the verbs which begin with RE, but I think they use it because they're talking about you meeting up with these people again. You know, you've met them before, you're going to meet up with them again. It's not the first time you're meeting them. It shouldn't be confused, however, with rencontrer, which means to meet for the first time. If you want to say to someone, have we met before? Have we met before? i.e., has the first time we met already passed? Then you would say, est-ce qu'on s'est déjà rencontré? Est-ce qu'on s'est déjà rencontré? Now, as a little extra, you can also use the verb se joindre to talk about meeting up with people, to talk about joining up with people. But it's a little bit more tricky because you need to be comfortable with pronominal verbs and you also need to be comfortable with the little unusual structure compared with English of this verb. So instead of saying je te rejoins, I meet up with you, you would say je me joins à toi, or more commonly, je me joins à vous. Je me joins à vous. I'm joining myself to you. I'm joining myself with the group. So you need that preposition of à in there. À plus whoever you're meeting up with. So if you're comfortable with pronominal verbs, then by all means use that a bit more interchangeably with rejoindre, but I would say rejoindre is far more commonly used. So not only is it the easiest one for us, it is also the most common. Win-win. Se trouver is now my default go-to verb for how to talk about where something or somewhere is. Where does somewhere find itself is the best literal translation of it to English. Where does it find itself? Excusez-moi, où se trouve la pharmacie la plus proche? Excusez-moi, où se trouve la pharmacie la plus proche? Normally in France, you'll just be able to point across the street because there's thousands of pharmacies in every city. I'd still use être to talk about where people are, and of course you can still use être for talking about where things and places are, but I found that se trouver is far more common and far more French, let's face it, than just saying to be when we're talking about places or things. But se trouver and être are still pretty interchangeable. I just wanted to give you this one because of how particularly French it is. The first time this clicked for me was when someone walked up to me in the street and asked me for directions to the nearest something or other. And they used se trouver and they were French. So it clicked for me and I made a conscious effort after that to use it more and more than être. But I go with the flow and I use what I feel is comfortable. And the more time you spend in a French-speaking environment, the more you will just get that feeling of which verb is most appropriate in that situation. Plaire, plaire. The verb is plaire. You won't commonly find it in its infinitive form. You will hear it more as in the form of ça me plaît. Ça me plaît. Something or this, that is liked by me. Ça me plaît. If you're familiar with saying I miss you or you miss me in French, you know that it's backwards when we compare it with English. We don't say je te manque for I miss you. You say je te manque for I am missed by you. And I know that's kind of hard to digest at the beginning, but we get to grips with it. It's the only way to say it in French. Well, in French, to talk about liking things, we know all about aimer. Aimer. Je t'aime bien or je t'aime for I love you, and je t'aime bien for I like you very much. But a very common way of saying like in French that you should get used to is using plaire. You say ça me plaît. Ça me plaît. It's liked by me. You can also use it like ce qui me plaît chez lui, what I like about him. Ce qui me plaît chez lui est, and then you list what it is that you like about him in this example. Oof, this is a big one that I covered in my very first YouTube video on French, but it could have been done much better, and it is, guys, if you're learning at home, you haven't spent much time in a French-speaking country yet, you're still trying to get to grips with all the different conjugations for all different verbs, I can tell you, the French don't use nous to mean we on a daily basis. They don't go around saying nous allons, nous avons, nous sommes. They use it in very specific cases. But in daily, informal French, they're going to use on to mean we, which is great for us because on has this pretty much the same pronounced conjugations as je and tu in most cases. So it's a fantastic shortcut to be able to take whilst having the confidence to know that you're not cheating, because the French really speak like this. And it's not as simple as just saying formal situations use nous and informal situations use on. Because I will talk to my landlord, I will call the electricity company, I will go into the bakery where they'll use vous with me, but they would still use on to mean we. It's perfectly legitimate, and I never ever ever use nous to mean we unless I have a very specific reason for, which is outside of the scope of this video. But please, rest assured, je vous jure, that use on instead of nous. I can tell the difference between someone who has really taken the time to learn how the French speak French and who has spent time in the country when I hear them saying on instead of nous. So be like them, be like me, be like the French, use on instead of nous. Avec ça, or just avec ça, or in some cases avec ceci, which is a more specific way of saying ça, is something you hear in shops when you are ready to pay. They might ask you if you want something else. They just simply say avec ça, avec ça. Often it doesn't even sound like a question. There's no upward inflection at the end of the sentence. So you just kind of think this sounds bizarre at the beginning, but you realize it's said in most shops, I would say. That, or they would ask you, is that everything? They would say, ce sera tout, is that everything? But a really French way of doing this is just saying et avec ça, and with that, and with that, like, and with that, you want anything else? Now I bet when you've been learning French the traditional ways, you've learned that you want to say funny quite a lot. So you've looked it up or you've been taught it directly in a class and it comes out as drôle. Drôle. Perfectly legitimate word for saying funny, but here is one way that I hear the French use it in informal situations with their friends, with their family. They would say rigolo, rigolo. Something is rigolo, c'est rigolo. Use it in place of saying, oh, that's funny. Instead of saying c'est drôle, they may or may not say c'est rigolo, c'est rigolo. Now that's the masculine form, and when you're using it with c'est, you always use the masculine form, c'est rigolo. But in the rarer cases where you're talking about something feminine, like, I don't know, the girl, la fille est rigolote. La fille est rigolote. That is the feminine form, rigolote. I'm including this one as a whole expression rather than just telling you about ça fait plaisir, because looking on my online translator Reverso, which shows you in context translations, you'll see that when you just search for ça fait plaisir, most of the example translations are about being nice to see you. So ça fait plaisir de te voir, or ça fait plaisir de vous voir, or things like that mean it's nice to see you, it's lovely to see you. And ça fait plaisir generally means it's nice to. Ça fait plaisir de, it's nice to, and then use a verb in the infinitive. And adding the pronoun me between ça and fait not only makes it a more personal expression, but it also has a slightly different meaning. If you say ça me fait plaisir, ça me fait plaisir, it can be, depending on what you're talking about, depending on the context, it can mean things like it makes me happy, that makes me happy, or it can just be like it was a pleasure, it is a pleasure, or I'm glad. But I believe you can also use it with de, followed by a verb afterwards, just like with ça fait plaisir de te voir. You could also say ça me fait plaisir de te voir, but I believe it's far less common. Oof, this is a big one, almost as big as on versus nous in French for me. And I've talked about it already in one of my shortcuts videos, but basically, you know when you are conjugating je with a verb, or you're following je with a pronoun like en, you contract je to J apostrophe, so it becomes j'aime or j'ai. Well, the same thing happens with tu, but they don't tell you that in courses, and therefore it's more of an informal usage, but it is used every single day, I can assure you. So things like tu es, tu as become te and ta. Something like with the verb envisager would become t'envisager. And with the pronoun en, for example, something I use a lot is if I want to offer someone some more water or some more wine because their glass is empty, I may say t'en veux? T'en veux? Do you want some? T'en veux? Or t'en veux plus? T'en veux plus? It's the same, as long as the next word after tu is starting with a vowel, then you contract it to T apostrophe. Something nice friends do for each other all the time. When they're saying goodbye, or they know that someone is going off to do something enjoyable, something fun, you want to tell them to enjoy themselves, have fun. Well, the most common way of doing this in French is to say profite bien. Profite bien, from the verb profiter, which means to enjoy or to take the benefits from or to take advantage from. So of course you use it in the imperative because you're more like giving them an order. You know, you say, go and have fun. Profite bien. Profite bien. You can say profite, but it sounds weird to the French, so you need to use bien with it. Profite bien. And I think grammatically you're supposed to have profites-en bien with the en, because en refers to the activity you're talking about, because you profitez de quelque chose. But I think probably for brevity, the French end up just saying profite bien. So brevity in that they cut out the en, but they require the bien. They're a weird bunch. And of course use it for the same way if you need to use vous with the person or you're talking to multiple people, you say profitez, profitez bien, profitez bien. And as I say, it can also mean to take advantage of something, to get the benefits of something. So if you're talking about enjoying or to get the benefits of the nice weather, you say on profite du beau temps. On profite du beau temps. And you see there again, I use on instead of nous. You will hear me doing that a lot, no doubt, on the channel if you haven't already. This is more of a general tip for you for how you can kind of cheat the language when you're having difficulties, because the subjunctive tense is one of those which is the most challenging for us French learners. And you have to remember not only all these new conjugations, but when to use them. What context do I use the subjunctive? Well, that's beyond the scope of this video, but if you want to use il faut que, you know that you always have to use the subjunctive, or if you don't, now you do. Il faut que plus the subject plus the subjunctive conjugation. But sometimes you're going to forget the conjugation. So one way around this is to do something that the French do themselves, obviously probably for different reasons, but they will get you 100%. Instead of saying il faut que tu fasses quelque chose, for example, which means you need to do something, it's faire in the subjunctive, you can just cheat a bit and you can say il te faut faire and then the rest of the sentence. Il te faut faire and then the rest of the sentence, because you already know faire because it's the infinitive. You haven't had to conjugate anything in the subjunctive, and you've got the subject in your sentence just like you would have done if you said il faut que tu fasses. Il te faut. And this works for all the other subject pronouns. So il me faut, il lui faut, il leur faut, plus the infinitive of the verb. Trust me, when I noticed this, I was thinking, oh yes, this gives me some breathing space, because I'm quite a perfectionist, and so I knew that it was going to take me time to get comfortable with the subjunctive. So on those times where I felt less confident or I was hesitating more, I would just throw in the il te faut structure instead of trying to conjugate it. And bit by bit, I got better at the subjunctive in those times where I was hesitating less and I was more confident. Something that's said at the end of conversations or in the middle of conversations, wherever you like really, you would say in English, I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted, or you tell someone to keep you posted. Keep me posted. In French, the way to say that is je te tiens au courant. Je te tiens au courant. I will hold you, roughly, up to date. Je te tiens au courant. And some places in France, you'll hear je te tiens au jus. Je te tiens au jus. And I think this is because courant is also current, like electric current, and jus is juice, like we would often refer to electricity as juice. So je te tiens au courant ou je te tiens au jus. And of course you can use it with the other object pronouns. So je vous tiens au courant ou je leur tiens au courant. Oh, ça fait plaisir to get all of that stuff off my chest and into your ears, because frankly, it's a really good list of stuff that is used in everyday situations, and I hope that will give you confidence to start using this stuff straight away. Keep an eye on your email inbox, because as one of my most dedicated followers, I will be keeping you up to date around once a month with stuff that's going on the channel, things that I've got planned for the near future, and just any other goodies as and when I think of them. Give yourself a big pat on the back for deciding to commit to learning the French which is spoken every single day. I'm proud and honoured that you've chosen me to pass on to you these nuggets of knowledge. But until next time, somewhere on the interwebs, merci beaucoup de regarder. À la prochaine. Ciao.